Coming up on CurrentOC.
Tonight we take a look at what it took off to pull off this year's Mr. OCHS performance.
Plus, we'll show you what it takes to be a member of the OCHS crew team.
These stories and more, it all starts now on the CurrentOC.
From the OC TV studios along 6th and Atlantic, Raider Nation's leading news magazine starts now. This is CurrentOC.
Hello and welcome to the CurrentOC. I'm Patrick Breslin.
And I'm Alec Wisniewski. Welcome to another edition of the CurrentOC. Thanks again to all the teachers for taking the time to include your broadcast with your students. Without your support, we would have no television program.
As handsome as this mug is, I know that every OCHS heartthrob longs for the day when he can strut his stuff on the OC stage, proving his worthiness to be Mr. OCHS. I can't wait for my shot next year, but until then, I have this awesome segment to study in preparation for fully understanding what it takes to be part of the Mr. OCHS Gala event.
Throughout the years, Mr. OCHS has been known as a silly and fun performance for volunteering seniors to show the surrounding community what they are made of. These OCHS seniors showcase their dance moves, fashion, and unique talents in this renowned show produced yearly. The show is broken up into the introduction of the seniors, where they may use an escort to walk down the aisle and bring up on stage, then an opening dance, where everyone sets the tone with their dance moves. Then, Mr. Bruno is called out to ask each contestant a question as they are introduced on stage. This leads into the fitness portion of the show, where each contestant flexes their muscles and unique fitness outfits. Each contestant then shows the crowd what they chose to do for their own skit or talent. Then, it is all summed up by an ending dance to bring the show all together. You may know Mr. OCHS to be both hilarious and a good time, but little people know the hard work that goes behind producing the show. The seniors have to learn dances, pick escorts, find outfits, and show which talent of theirs they want to showcase in the span of just a few weeks, which was a little more difficult for the seniors who haven't ever really busted a dance move in their lives.
In my opinion, it was pretty difficult to learn the dances. I'm not very gifted in that aspect. But it was really fun to see Sarah and Anna try and teach them to us, and us just not learn at all.
This whole thing hasn't really been stressful at all. We've had 3 weeks actually, and we've had Sarah and Anna who have helped us out a lot, and we're all pretty close, so it's not like weird or anything or awkward, so we have fun. It's not really stressful.
2 people are appointed each year to come up with the choreography for the show. This is no easy task, as having the patience to teach almost a dozen boys to dance is a trait not many have. They are in charge of coming up with the dances from scratch and usually use a mix of songs previously used and songs suggested from the boys.
We came up with the dances by just being at my house for 3 hours, listening to music and sort of seeing what came. We watched a couple of videos of the past years and sort of got some inspiration from them.
It was very hard to teach the boys the dances. They really don't have a great attention span. They didn't want to learn that well, and it took the full 3 hours every time to teach them a new dance, but they got it and they are doing great.
The technical and stage crew need to work with the talents each and every day to get the perfect sound, lighting, and graphics ready when it comes time to do the show. Their experience and patience is much appreciated by everyone in giving the show that extra layer of professionalism and appeal to the crowd. Year in and year out, Mrs. Cologne Smith and Mrs. Sykes help coordinate the show by running through practices and making sure every contestant is prepared for the big show. Everything must be approved by them, and they help with every contestant every step of the way, whether it's getting over stage fright or finding out what skit to do.
I think I'm gonna be serious.
Now that you know the amount of work that goes into producing the Mr. OCHS show year in and year out, make sure to remember to come by every year to every show, if you're around, to appreciate all that was put into it. But as for now, this has been Connor James reporting for the CurrentOC.
Maybe Pretty Boy over there is studying Mr. OCHS prep, but I'm smart enough to be preparing for our upcoming AP exams. The CurrentOC examines prepping for AP examinations.
With upcoming AP exams for students taking AP courses, first-timers to these sorts of tests might be feeling a bit anxious or overwhelmed. While AP exams are expected to be challenging, it isn't something that you should pull your hair out over. AP exams and AP classes in general are meant to further your learning in a subject you find great interest in. And if you choose to take these courses, you are assumed to be a hard-working student who is passionately interested in a subject, as well as someone who is preparing themselves for college. One of the most important places to start is to show up to class, either online or in person, and review with your teacher. By now, most AP teachers have finished all of their classes' content they need to go throughout their year. Typically, the last month before a test is reserved for reviewing all the material you went over in the past year. And if you're taking a 2-year AP course, like U.S. History or Calculus, this will be especially important in going over the past 2 years of content. Another helpful tip is to search online for practice exams and practice problems. Your teacher will likely hand you some of these practice AP problems during the year, but looking for more practice on your own time can only help you see what kind of questions might be asked of you. Going over your own notes over the year is also a good thing too, if you're the kind of person who takes notes. If you can see how you learned a topic and recall the general thought process and it still makes sense to you, then you're in good shape for that subject.
So I would recommend for an AP class, definitely, you should have been studying all year long anyway. So it's not about cramming at this point. You've already got the information, it's just about making those connections. So reviewing the big concepts and being able to look at them and say, okay, now I understand what all this means together.
So I think that it's also a good idea to, as you're doing prep work, to look at the scoring guidelines, because a lot of times kids think that they're answering a question properly just because they got the answer right, but they don't get full credit because they're not explaining things correctly. So please pay attention to how the answers need to be written so that you get as many points as you can.
So in my opinion, the worst habit you can do is to start cramming and then not sleeping the night before. Make sure that you get a good night's sleep. It is an endurance test. Those AP exams are 3 hours long. Sometimes you're taking 2 in one day, back to back. Make sure you get a good night's rest the night before.
Additionally, even if you feel you've done horribly on the AP test compared to other tests throughout the year, the AP test accounts for its relative difficulty with the AP grading scale. For example, if you were to get a 64 or so on a regular test, this would be considered a failing. However, the same numerical grade on an AP exam is either a high 4 or a 5 based on a 5-point grading scale. To wrap it all up, you shouldn't feel like you have to lose sleep every night in preparation for your AP exams. With proper review and time management, you can be as ready for them as possible. It's especially important to get help understanding the topics you know you have an issue with. If you put in the effort, it will show in a good score on the test. So study hard and test harder. This has been Adam Varga reporting for the CurrentOC. Good luck!
It isn't easy staying in shape, nor is it easy to be involved with a demanding OCHS sport. But one sport combines conditioning and dedication to ensure success. Take a look at the OCHS crew team.
With spring sports receiving an early cancellation in 2020, many athletes are reared up for their 2021 season, with spring crew being no exception. If you travel across the 34th Street Bridge, you encounter a small boathouse where our crew team resides. Crew is a water-based sport where 48 rowers per boat race against each other in a long stretch of water. Though it may look easy rowing a boat, it requires a lot of strength and technique to balance a boat and move it efficiently through the water.
It is not like other sports where there's individual heroes. Rowing, there's no such thing as an individual on an 8-man crew. If one person's out of time, if one person is late or early, if one person's not doing what they're supposed to, it affects the entire crew. With rowing practice, there's a lot more to be considered than most other practices. With coaching though, because we're out in the elements, we deal with wind, we deal with the currents, and deal with temperature. We have to be willing to adapt on the fly. We're out in the water, so we have to make sure the coaching equipment is available, that all the repairs are done on the boats prior to going out. But once we're at practice, there's warm-up and stretching. We get the equipment out. I go over the practice, both the drills and the workout with the team, answer any questions, and then we hit the water. We do practice usually divided up about half of it or so on drills, and the other half on power and conditioning. As soon as we get in, we have to wash the boats down, put all the equipment away, note any things that need to be repaired as salt water takes its toll on our equipment. and then we stretch out and we go home.
Crew is a hard but rewarding sport. We here at the CurrentOC wish the team best of luck. This has been Drew Patel reporting for the CurrentOC.
I would imagine good weather makes it easier to row, but those athletes train no matter what the weather holds.
Speaking of weather, the CurrentOC is back to reporting our local forecast. Welcome Charlie Costal in his and our first complete weather broadcast since the COVID-19 pandemic struck last March. Good luck, Charlie. Let us know the weather.
Thank you, Patrick. It's good to be here. To start off, let's take a look at our national radar. We're looking clear all across the board. However, for any of our students who are on vacation, you can expect some bad weather and storms down in Florida. Let's take a look at our local area. Now, today's really making my job easy because I've got nothing to say. We're looking at clear weather all across New Jersey. But let's take a look at some numbers. These may seem pretty confusing, but trust me, we're looking good out there. We've got 67.5 degrees outside with 10-mile-per-hour winds. Keep that in mind for any practices or games you may have today. Now let's take a look at our regional temperatures. Down in Cape May, we've got 64 degrees with a water temperature of 76.1. A trip to the beach might not be a bad idea by any regards. Now let's take a look at the CurrentOC 7-day forecast. Today we're looking good with 66 degrees. Moving on through Friday and Saturday, we've got highs of 63 and 65. Now Saturday is the day to do something. High of 65 and a low of 57 is the perfect conditions. Moving through to next week, however, you can expect some rain.
Great job, Charlie. Hopefully we can continue bringing weekly weekend weather forecasts. Well, that will do it for us on this edition of the CurrentOC.
Remember to log on and catch all of our shows and additional content by visiting oc-tv.org.
We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at OCNJTV, so be sure to like our page and follow us there too.
We will be back next week with more local news.